let's discuss the Seattle Seahawks a little bit.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the idea of trading down. I think everybody who's studied the draft has said, look, trading down is so valuable. It's not exciting for fans, but the teams that have built well in the past have done a really nice job of this. There's just so much risk. It's both ways, right? There's so much risk with giving up multiple picks to go get one player, because that one player then has to be more valuable than all of the guys that you gave up, right? And then it's just this idea that nobody's actually good at evaluating, right? It's like a 50-50 shot, at best 55-45 shot as far as, are you going to hit on your pick? This has been essentially proven historically, right? As much as it pains us to tell scouts that you're actually not that good at this whole process compared to everyone else, no matter how hard you work. And even us at PFF, we pride ourselves on player evaluation. And even if we can get to 60%, it's still, there's so much unknown, right? So just the fact that it's maybe a 50-50 proposition to hit on a player, it's extremely risky to give up multiple assets to go get one. And then you see what Seattle has done, and they gave up here's the breakdown, okay? The number 21 overall pick turned into Darnell Savage by the Green Bay Packers. And from all the wheeling and dealing, Seattle started with 4 picks, ended up with 11 when you include the Frank Clark trade and all that stuff. They turned number 21 into number 47, Marquis Blair, safety out of Utah. 64, DK Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. 120, Gary Jennings, wide receiver out of West Virginia. 131, Ugo Amadi, defensive back out of Oregon. 143, Ben Burke-Kirven, linebacker out of Washington. And 204, Travis Homer, the running back. So 6 picks from pick number 21, who turned into Darnell Savage, who I love. Mm-hmm. But man, that is some good draft manipulation.
Yeah, particularly getting that many picks back and not leaving the first round. You know, it's not like they went, all right, we can turn this first round pick into a bunch of other lower down picks, but we need to get out of the first round. We need to do nothing, until later.
Well, they still had the extra first round pick.
Right.
This was 1 first round pick turned into 2 2s.
But they're able to trade down,
and
stay in the first round, keep a marquee, first round player, albeit one they used on LJ Collier, which, okay.
We had a second round player.
Right. And pick up a bunch of other picks. So a couple of teams were big into this draft. The Seahawks, the Vikings spent all day 2 and day 3 trading down, but they seemed to do it without a sort of, their strategy appeared to be, let's trade down, we'll get a whole bunch of day 3 picks, and then that will enable us to essentially choose when we want to draft. So, midway through the 5th, they're like, okay, we like this player, let's trade up here and get him. That does not seem to be, to me, the way you should do this. You should, I think, accumulate as many shots in the mid-rounds as you can, use them all, and just accept that your strike rate is not good.
Especially in the middle rounds.
Right.
I would also accumulate 5th, 6th, and 7th for those player trades. Right?
Yeah.
Flipping a 5th for a potential starting offensive tackle in those trades we've talked about.
The one thing you probably shouldn't do is to do what the Vikings did, which is to accumulate basically the ammunition to jump around in the late rounds and say, we love this player, we're going to get him in the 6th, even if we need to get rid of one of these other 7ths to do it.
Yeah.
Because that assumes that you're good at this. And the bottom line is nobody's good at this. Everybody drafting is we're inherently bad at the draft, right? And even us, let's say we have the best data in the world, which you do, we figure out all of the things that matter. We're probably not going to get great at it. We're just going to be better than other people.
Yeah, hitting on 80-90% of your picks is just unrealistic.
There's too many variables at it. Right. You're never going to get that good. So I think the smartest thing everybody can do is to realize they're bad at it and work out what the best way of maximizing your chances are. Like figure out the best way of succeeding at the lottery, essentially. So the Viking strategy is with all these extra picks, we're going to use that to target the guys we really love. Starts off with the foundation of we know what we're doing, which is just a dangerous place to be because the evidence suggests nobody does. The Seahawks did the opposite, which is we'll accumulate all these picks and then we'll just use them and hope that our strike rate is good enough that it makes that the better option.
And now, so when you break this whole thing down, Darnell Savage, first-round safety, love him, right? The difference between Darnell Savage as a safety at 21 and then, say, Marquis Blair, a guy that we like quite a bit too, at 47, right? If Marquis Blair is 50% of what Darnell Savage is, okay, that's great. Now I've got 5 other picks to potentially get the value of number 21. The next pick was DK Metcalf, the wide receiver, who we had as a first-round player anyway. So even if just Marquis, Blair, and DK Metcalf combined are as valuable as Darnell Savage, then it's a push.
Yeah. The Blair pick is really interesting because Marquis Blair might be my favorite player in the entire draft. Not because I think he's the best player in the entire draft.
Fun to watch guy?
Right. It's way higher than I thought he was going to go. I thought he would be a mid-round pick somewhere, third, fourth, that kind of area. But landing in the Seattle defense, I think, is really interesting.
Yeah, so he's fast. He flies around.
He's really fast. He hits like a train. He plays every single snap like somebody just insulted a member of his family. Like, he just torpedoes people, heads in a straight line, and absolutely annihilates them. I think he can play as a free safety as well. I think there's more work to do in that area. As a strong safety, I think he's already a natural. Like, he's got the ability to read, diagnose, just fly straight at people, blow them up. As a free safety, I think there's ability there. He's got that skill, which I think is not an easy thing to have, which is sort of being able to understand the angles and know where to head to, know what spot to head to whilst looking at the quarterback. Right? So it's like you can see from the QB's eyes where he's going with the ball, and you know the spot that you should head to intercept that, as opposed to, this is going there, find the route, looking in multiple different places.
Right.
So he's got that. He doesn't quite have the same feel for it, and he's got in a league that is sort of trying to eliminate the death shot to wide receivers deep down the field. He hasn't got that memo yet.
Right.
So, there was, like in college, he's getting ejected every now and again. In the NFL, he's going to cost you some 15-yard penalties.
Did you watch the little Colts behind-the-scenes deal?
Yeah.
So the whole, the scouts are describing a player, and I was trying to, in my head, figure out who they were describing. And a lot of it's like, loves the game, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of generic stuff, and it's like, this guy's going to get fined. And he was actually saying it as like positive. Like, this guy's a missile, but, he's going to get your pocketbook ready. He's going to be paying a lot. I was like, I wonder if that's Marquis Blair.
Yeah.
Trying to predict
he's definitely going to cost you some 15-yard penalties. But I kind of love the plays, even though they're getting penalized. Like, there's one where it was against USC. It was a deep shot down the sideline. And he just, deep center of the field, straight line right to where the receiver was. Ball didn't really arrive. Didn't bother Marquis. He's just taking out the receiver.
This isn't a good thing
Guy's
for the 47th overall pick.
It really
let's
is.
see if they can coach that out of him. I just want to finish this entire thought, though. Darnell Savage versus Marquis Blair, right? DK Metcalf. Even if those two combine to equal Darnell Savage's value, and you get a little bit more out of Gary Jennings at wide receiver, who could come in and take some Doug Baldwin snaps, assuming Baldwin does follow through and retire.
That, by the way, might be the biggest thing to come out of the Seahawks draft weekend, is the fact that they might not have Doug Baldwin anymore.
It is. It's significant. But even after Jennings, Ugo Amadi, who could play some significant slot snaps, we know how valuable the slot is. Ben Burke-Kirven, a linebacker out of Washington, the type of guy that has enough athleticism and coverage ability that you could see him playing next to Bobby Wagner, even though he wasn't the first linebacker that they drafted. Eric Barton out of Utah was. So when you're just looking at all of this, right? Mm-hmm. Even if they miss on 4 out of those 6 players, there's still a pretty good chance that they're going to get more value out of 2 of them, any 2 of these, compared to Darnell Savage. So it's just quantifying the value of trading down. Now, from a Green Bay perspective, obviously, they didn't give up all 6 of these picks. They went up, they traded up to go get Darnell Savage. And I think there are times when you do want to trade up and go get a player, but it's not because you're 1 player away or anything like that. It's just always inherently risky. And I said this even with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't hate them trading up to get Devin Bush, but he has to have the value of the number 20 pick and the number, I think it was 52 that they gave up in the second round.
I think,
and and that's going to be difficult to do, even though he's a perfect fit for the Steelers, what they need, and all that fun stuff.
I think in the first round, if it's not for a quarterback, there is almost zero excuse for ever trading up. I think when you get to the second and third, you can make a case for it. But as you say, that player, you need to be confident that that player is a first-round player who's going to justify the second and the third that you have to cough up to do it.
In a perfect fit, and you've got usage for him, and all that stuff needs to be.
I think in the first round, there's just the cost of moving up. There is just no excuse for trading up unless it's for a quarterback, at which point their value, if you get it right, is more important than the picks you gave up. For a defensive end, or it's just not worth it, ever.
Right.